call the May 13th fee committee meeting to order at 3:01.
First order of business will be to accept the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes of
Second.
March 18th, 2026.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Any discussion?
We have the non-resident on-street parking that we are dealing with. So for Councilor Bagley, who was not there, it was brought up during the public hearing. Might have been public comment, I can't really remember, but it was brought up that if we choose the $1 an hour and our rates on street are more than that, and people just see the parking map when they go to the parking app, they're gonna see a lower price zone and they're gonna flood that, which isn't really the point of doing this program. So it was discussed at City Council that we actually move towards making it at least equal with other on-street parking. So we're actually bringing back the ordinance to actually list that it's going to be part of a fee committee decision versus putting an actual amount in this ordinance. And that way the fee committee can make that change. So I believe our discussion today is around what should that fee be, so that we can make it part of the July 1st budget fees, which wasn't part of. We also don't want it to be way below what the parking garages are, because we want people to go to the parking garages. And so I believe parking garages we changed to $2 an hour. And what is
Anticipate changing.
no, well, it's part of what we,
Yeah.
that's what we voted to move towards the budget with City Council.
In
So
the March fee committee.
for the, right, at the March meeting that we just had, that we just approved the minutes from. So we also have current on-street parking is $2 an hour for the first 3 hours, and then it goes up after that, correct? Which is part of our request back, which is coming on our June 8th City Council meeting. Staff is gonna let us know whether or not we can change the on-street parking to be fee committee, so the fee committee could look at each other year, or do we have to leave an amount in the ordinance, in which case then we'll do an ordinance change and talk about that at that time. But for today, where do we want to go as far as this pilot and amount for per hour?
You actually brought up something I hadn't thought of before this meeting. Downtown, after 3 hours, we escalate.
To $5 an hour.
Can we make a motion, or should we just throw a motion on the floor and then modify it? I guess it probably makes the most sense.
Let's have a discussion. What are you talking about?
So my motion would be to set the wrap parking rate for non-residents the same as the first hourly rate in the downtown parking area for on-street parking.
That makes sense, because then if in June we change to, we go off of ordinances and go on to fee committee,
Right, we'd be setting it
we
at
can
that.
daisy chain everything off of that one rate. I like that.
Yeah, no, I would agree with that.
And to highlight it to Councilor Morose, I didn't think of it until you mentioned it. We don't want to like if somebody's at a baseball game or something, we don't have a need to escalate at the
Right.
4th hour.
But we don't want to incentivize people to go to that zone over, because that's why we got rid of having A and B to begin with, right? It's all high occupancy. So we want it to be the same amount to park on Pleasant Street as it is on Parrot Ave, right? We
Yep.
don't want to incentivize them to go to Parrot Ave. That's
And
what I'm trying to get at.
I think our price-sensitive parkers are gonna not park at $2 an hour. So I think the people that are gonna pay the fee are gonna have a reason. They're gonna want to be there enough to pay the fee.
Yeah,
Whatever it is.
behavior modification works better
Correct.
than it would before.
Right. So the ultimate motion is that we set the rate for the wrap program to be equal to on-street first 3 hour pricing.
I think we have to do two motions though, one for non-resident and the other
What-
for downtown work.
Well, non-residents just free.
Residents just free.
Residents.
Free,
Right.
non-resident.
Oh, non-residents, but the downtown downtown workers are already in the ordinance, or did we take that out too?
I think we're gonna look at it based on the agenda.
Okay, let's, yeah, I jumped ahead.
We get ourselves all confused. You're now
I
confusing
jumped
me.
ahead
We
too
thought this was
fast.
gonna be a
Let's
quick
stay on-
meeting.
But it'd be helpful
on
to
the-
hear from staff before you make the first.
Yes. Anybody have any recommendations on our motion as far as that language being wieldy or unwieldy?
I think tracking it with some benchmark is helpful. The original $1 an hour was benchmarked at the Foundry Garage, not the on-street parking rate. But if it's a matter of how you want to
Foundry's
benchmark it
2
to
now.
something.
Well, it's going to be.
Which is the Foundry's going to 2 and Hanover's going to 3. And I think the concern was having an incentive to go into these wrap zones all of a sudden. So I think whatever you track it to will make it simpler in the future, so when you change one rate, everything cascades through. And I don't know if you have a recommendation of 2 or 3 on the wrap zone?
I would keep it the same as on the street if we're worried about people spilling over into the zone.
Yeah, because somebody who sees 2 streets over, it's $1 cheaper an hour. They're very likely gonna go park there, which is not the behavior we're trying to create.
Or you could look at like Bridge Street where, you know, the first spot on Hanover Street, which is currently resident only, you know, somebody literally they're 20 feet away, but, you know, you'd have a
Right.
$1 difference.
So matching the on-street wrap spots to be equal to on-street parking versus the garage, I think is the fairest way to do it.
Escalator, yeah.
And this is a pilot, so if a year from now,
If we didn't like that, we can
it
change
doesn't
it.
work the way we think it is, we can adjust it as needed.
That's great.
So
So the motion is that non-residents on-street parking shall equal on-street parking rates for the first 3 hours. And I state that because of the escalation on-street after that. So it'll match the rate of that first 3 hours,
Yeah.
wherever that rate goes.
yeah, that's it. I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And then recommended fee for downtown workforce on-street parking. I'll start by saying that, actually I'll ask staff, I think we've had this program for 6, 7 years now.
At least, yeah.
Parking program.
It was since the parking garage opened.
Yeah, so when COVID happened, so being right around the beginning of COVID, we were looking for new incentives to get people to use the Foundry Garage, and that, so it was at least 6 years.
At least,
And
yeah.
I do recall from my time on PTS that basically every month since it's been implemented, we've seen increased usage. So it's a valued program. The biggest concern I think we have now is capacity, as the garages have filled up. That's the whole reason we're doing the wrap program. Capacity gets more and more challenging. At some point, and I'm not saying we do it today, but I'm tossing that out there just for discussion, 30 cents maybe moves to 50 cents. I don't know that we want to bite that apple today, but it's probably worth,
I think
Just
because this
knowing
is
that
just
at
a
some
one-year
point.
program and we've already set the rate for that through the fee committee, I say we match it for now, but we could revisit it in next spring. And that would give us enough data on the wrap program by that point as well, because we'd have several months so that we'd really be able to take a look at what would,
Actually,
Yeah.
the timing will be good when you have fee committee in your normal slot around March.
right.
February, March.
We'll have a fair amount of information back from how this has worked and hasn't worked.
Yeah, it's 120 users right now for the downtown worker
Well,
program.
I can tell you that changing the monthly amount to the Foundry Garage has gotten somebody I know cleaning out his garage to to not have to have 2 spots anymore, so.
It's working.
It is working.
Yeah.
Now, question for staff. Do you want us to tie the 30 cents an hour to the Foundry Garage, or do you want to make it just a standalone 30 cents an hour? Because the Foundry Garage, you have to buy a 10-hour chunk.
Yeah, and we're not able to buy a chunk yet
Yeah.
for the wrap area, so I think we have to just set an hourly rate, which is then, you could also pay the transaction fee. And I think the other is, since we're gonna be reporting back quarterly, if it gets flooded, we're gonna let you know right away if if a change needs to happen. But I think setting an actual rate is helpful because we don't have a corresponding rate in the Foundry Garage.
And this way, they actually reap the benefit of, if they don't work, use the full time, they're not wasting it and paying for it, they're actually paying for what they use. Right, if they only work 5 hours instead of 10 hours, right?
Unless somehow is it written in the Foundry Garage fee schedule 30 cents an hour?
No, I think we're just doing the math at
It's-
$3.
you're doing the math.
Yeah.
$3, so that's
Yeah.
why it's a little different.
All right, I'll make a stab at a motion.
Go right ahead. I just
I
want
move-
to add one more comment too,
Oh,
just on
yes.
the history and when and how and who. You remember there was some amendments to chapter 1 as well, where for fees, now, fees can also be set not just by the fee committee, but also by the council.
Yep.
So if you're in, if you're in a midpoint or something. I just wanna make sure you have
Right,
that.
if
in
come
your
December, we're
memory.
being flooded with
Right.
workers and it's not having its proper effect, then we could up it for on-street workers, it's now 50 cents an hour, right?
Right, if we set a price.
If we set a price now, we can change it later.
Okay, I would move that we set the fee for downtown workforce on-street parking in the wrap area at 30 cents per hour,
Second,
not inclusive of the app transaction fee.
because that's on above it.
Yeah, because you can't use the app without paying the transaction fee,
Right.
so
Second,
Exactly, yeah.
Yep.
I'm good with it.
staff, right, is that
Are
more or
you
One
less?
clarification would be to make sure that it's paired Ave only.
well, it's what is
But that's what
labeled in the
policy
wrap.
is, yeah.
Yeah, the wrap program specifically says that street, so I don't think we need to make that definition,
Okay,
right?
I didn't realize that it was Parrot Avenue only.
Oh, it's Parrot Avenue only. It's not everywhere.
I imagine I know where that suggestion came from.
It came from the recommendation of this whole program. It was part of it. Actually, it was part of the first round of feedback, if I remember correctly. And it specifically, I think, came from the EDC.
That came from the Chamber
Chamber.
Collaborative and meeting with some restaurant owners downtown.
Oh, okay.
They
I didn't know
wanted,
where it came
because
from.
sometimes the Foundry Garage is so far away for some of the businesses, it would be nice to have a place that was closer. So we said we'd try it on just that one street. All right, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed?
Who made that? Andrew made it, and who seconded it?
I did.
I thought we got rid of the transaction fee.
Oh, for
You can't.
residents.
For residents.
Yeah,
Not
we
for-
actually get charged a fee
Okay.
for the credit
It's a
card
cost
plus
for
the
the city,
software
yeah.
and
So anyone from the public want to speak?
Jane, did you have your hand up?
No, I just had a question on the process for these votes and how they're going to come forward and when. So, presumably they come under one of your names.
Actually, all three, because I threw it out to everybody.
All three of us will have under our name to give a verbal report back on Monday's meeting, which I believe is just going to be Andrew and I, because I don't think
Okay.
you're going to be here.
And so you're not gonna do, it's just a recommendation, you're not gonna do a motion from council to approve the fee, you're just gonna do.
No, we're just going to let them know what fee committee came up with the decision so that they'll know it'll
Okay.
be part of the June 8th. Come back to them so that they know. Just let them know it'll be verbally.
That'll be-
did now.
It'll be an amendment to what the fee passed in March. It'll be in the fee section of the budget, correct?
Yes. That's
We will add what you voted on today into the.
Into that. So it'll pass with the whole budget.
Right.
Yep.
Did we miss anything else?
Does anything have to be confirmed
15 minutes.
at the council meeting with regards to those fees?
But we had new
Nope,
ideas.
they'll just bring it as an update
Okay.
under their name.
Yeah, we'll verbally update the council so they know what we decided on next Monday, and then let them know that change will be part of the budget changes from fee committee.
And that's just our suggestion as three people. It could change at the council level.
Yeah.
If somebody really dislikes our decision, yes.
Yep.
We can argue our rationale is that it will follow, and then we only have to set one fee for on-street parking and be done with it.
So we have to go do second reading over with the new.
Right, we're doing second
We are
reading
doing that
on
on
Monday for rep, right?
That's correct.
Okay, so we're redoing second reading and having another public hearing because we changed it to take out the money number and to put in fee committee recommendation instead. Any questions?
No.
I say we adjourn.
Our work is done.
So
Our work is
moved.
done. I'm in favor. How about everyone else?
Thank you, Portsmouth.